Unit 2, Tape Script 2.1. Marco Polo, 1254 to 1324.
Marco Polo was the first person to travel the entire 8,000-kilometre length of the Silk Route, the main trade link between Cathay, China, and the West for over 2,000 years. He was born in Venice, the son of a merchant. In 1271, when he was 17, he set off for China. The journey took him 4 years. His route led him through Persia, Afghanistan, and Mongolia. He travelled by boat, but mainly on horseback, and he frequently got lost. He was met by the Emperor Kublai Khan. He was one of the first Europeans to visit the territory, and he travelled extensively. He went over mountain ranges, down rivers, and across deserts. He stayed in China for 17 years. When he left, he took back a fortune in gold and jewellery. He arrived back home in 1295. He wrote a book called The Travels of Marco Polo, which gave Europeans their first information about China and the Far East.
Backpacker raises money for charity.
Jake Ellis is in Singapore. He's on a 9-month backpacking trip round Southeast Asia. He flew into Bangkok 5 months ago. Since then, he's been to Laos, Vietnam, Hong Kong and Cambodia. But Jake hasn't been partying his way around the tourist spots. He's raised thousands of pounds for water aid by doing a sponsored bike ride from Saigon to Angkor Wat. He's learnt a lot about history in Vietnam, seen amazing scenery in Laos, and visited ancient temples in Cambodia. He's been staying in cheap hostels, along with a lot of other travellers.
I've met a lot of really great people, but it hasn't all been easy. I've had diarrhoea a few times, and I've been mugged once. That was really scary.
Apart from that, his only worry is the insects. He's been stung all over his body. He's been travelling mainly by public transport, bus, train and ferry, but when he's been able to afford it, he's also taken the occasional plane. He's been taking it easy for a week before setting off again for the Philippines.
Once you've got the travel bug, it becomes very hard to stay in the same place for too long.
Tape Script 2.2.
He's been stung all over his body. He's visited ancient temples. He's been staying in cheap hostels.
I've been mugged. I've met a lot of really great people.
He's been to Laos and Vietnam.
Tape Script 2.3. Marco Polo. 1.
When and where was he born?
In 1254 in Venice.
2.
How long did the journey to China take?
4 years.
3.
How long did he stay in China?
For 17 years.
4.
What did he bring back to Venice?
Gold and jewellery.
5.
What was the title of his book?
The Travels of Marco Polo.
Jake Ellis. 6.
How has he been travelling?
Mainly by public transport.
7.
Which countries has he been to?
Cambodia, Vietnam, Laos and China.
8.
Where's he been staying?
In cheap hostels.
9.
How much has he raised for charity?
Thousands of pounds.
10.
Has he been ill?
Yes, he has. A few times.
Tape Script 2.4. Alan.
They are one of the most eerie and strange experiences you can possibly have. The first time I saw them, they appeared as a kind of shimmering curtain over the top of a ridge of mountains, and they went from a greeny colour to a kind of purpley red colour, and they just stayed there. And the second time I saw them, it was the most amazing sight because they were right above our heads, and they covered the whole of the sky. The other interesting thing is that not everybody hears it, but they sometimes make a sound, a kind of buzzing noise. It was a real sense of wonder and awe. I just kind of sat there with my mouth hanging open, just feeling kind of small.
Bernie.
It was around midday. About 30 of us set off. The weather was fantastic. Not a cloud in the sky. We were all very excited. I don't think we really knew what to expect. There was a nervous kind of feeling amongst us. But then nothing happened at all for the first 20 minutes or so. We just sailed around, waiting for something to happen. Then all of a sudden the captain came across the loudspeaker and said, "I've spotted something." So everyone got real excited and we ran to one side of the boat. And after a while, we spotted something in the water, but quite far away, so we couldn't really see. And then suddenly this huge, beautiful creature leapt out of the water, flipped around and landed back in again with a splash. It was massive. I mean, really massive. I don't think anyone was expecting it to be so big. It was really close, and it did it again and again. And it was like once one had started, all the rest joined in. So eventually there were about 6 circling the boat. I think they were just curious about us. And they kept coming closer and closer. It was as if they were showing off. As if they were like putting on a show for us. We felt really emotional because they were such beautiful creatures. It was quite a privilege to see them. So, after about maybe half an hour, we had to go back to land, and everyone was left feeling really exhilarated. It was a joyful experience.
Carol.
I went there with a Taiwanese friend of mine, and we were really excited about going. The day before, it had been absolutely boiling hot. So on the day we went, I was wearing, only a summer dress and sandals. And actually, when we got there, after a 3-hour journey in a minibus, it was raining and really windy. So we were freezing. There were these people selling these kind of ponchos for rain, which we bought, and then we climbed up and started walking along. It was amazing, but the section we were on was quite ruined and quite difficult to walk up. And of course, I didn't have sensible shoes on, because of the rain, and it was quite slippery. We were on the ridge of a hill and the wind was really gusting and it was like catching my poncho and I could feel it blowing me along, and I really, really hate heights. And we had this big drop right next to us. I was terrified. Of course, the view was spectacular, stunning. You could see it kind of snaking up the hills, but I was just so frightened. I walked on a little bit, but then, I got so scared again, I just had to start heading back. And coming down, with the rain and the wind and the slippery stones and the bad shoes, it was terrifying. I came down some of the steps sitting on my bottom, bumping down one by one. I was paralysed with fear. And at one point I just stopped. And then this old woman who was selling postcards and stuff came up, grabbed my arm and kind of walked me down. I was so grateful. So the main thing I felt at the end was huge relief. I think I'd like to go there again, but in better weather and with, trainers or something a bit more sensible on.
Tape script 2.5. 1.
When you go for a job interview, it's important to make a good impression.
2.
I think we're all getting tired. Can I make a suggestion? How about a break?
3.
A lot of research has been done into the causes of cancer.
4.
I think the director is basically doing a good job. He's reliable, he's honest, and he gets results.
5.
I'd like to make it clear right now that I am totally opposed to this idea.
6.
Right. I think we should make a start and get down to business.
7.
I don't mind if we go now or later. It makes no difference to me.
8.
Could you do me a favour and lend me some money?
Tape script 2.6. 1.
She's made the big time as an actress. She can command $20 million a movie.
$20 million? Nobody's worth that.
2.
We'll never make the airport in time. The traffic's too bad.
Look, I think it's starting to move.
3.
What does she do for a living?
She's a corporate lawyer.
Ooh, that sounds boring.
Boring it may be, but it's really well paid.
4.
You'll all have to do more overtime and work weekends.
That does it. I'm going to look for another job.
Leave if you like, but it's the only way this business will survive.
5.
How much do you want to borrow? £20?
Great, that'll do fine.
Just pay it back when you can. No hurry.
6.
How much Spanish do you speak?
Well, I can make myself understood.
Really? You sound pretty fluent to me.
7.
I hear the boss said you'd done really well.
Yeah, it really made my day.
But did you get a bonus as well as a compliment?
No, just a pat on the back.
Tape script 2.7. 1.
I'm so thirsty. I could do with a cup of tea.
2.
We've bought an old flat. We're going to do it up over the next few years.
3.
I think we should do away with the monarchy. They're all useless and expensive.
4.
I could never do without my personal assistant. She organises everything for me.
Tape script 2.8. 1.
Thieves broke into the castle and made off with jewellery and antique paintings.
2.
Jake's parents buy him loads of toys. They're trying to make up for always being at work.
3.
What do you make of the new boss? I quite like him.
4.
You didn't believe his story, did you? He made the whole thing up.
Tape script 2.9. 1.
I'll never forget my first trip to Giza and the sight of those massive stone structures. They stand just on the edge of the desert, taking you back to the time of the pharaohs. But they're surprisingly near to modern buildings, too. I kind of expected them to be right in the middle of nowhere.
2.
It's a brilliant city. We did a city tour on the first day to get a feel for the place, starting at the Reichstag. There's a viewing terrace right at the very top of the building where you get incredible views of the surrounding area. We stayed on the old east side of the wall. Even though it's been unified since 1989, there is a different feel to the two halves of the city.
3.
We were staying on the outskirts of the city, so we only had a day for sightseeing. We began at the Capitol building and walked the 2 miles to the Lincoln Memorial at the other end of the mile. It's a kind of national park with gardens and lots of important museums, like the National Museum of American History.
4.
Oh, I wouldn't have missed it for the world. It really is one of India's must-see destinations. It's a magnificent white building right on the banks of the river, so you get wonderful reflections in the clear water. We also spent some time in Jaipur. I love the colourful streets in the very heart of the old city.
Tape script 2.10.
We rented a flat right in the centre. The Grand Canal was just at the end of the street. It was wonderful to be in the very heart of the city.
Tape script 2.11. 1.
Hello?
Hi, Leo. We've just stopped for petrol. The sat-nav is programmed and we'll be on our way again soon.
Great, but I wouldn't rely on GPS to find us. We really are in the middle of nowhere.
Oh.
Use the sat-nav as far as the village of Lower Borton.
Uh-huh.
Then head towards the village hall. There's a sign just before the river.
Right.
Go over the bridge and follow the road round the bend. It's quite narrow, so there's a 20-mile speed limit.
Mm-hmm.
Right, carry on along that road for about a mile, and there's a sharp turn to the left.
Okay.
That's the track down to the house. Drive right to the end of that track, and that's where we are.
Gosh, that sounds a bit complicated.
You'll be fine. It's only about a 15-minute drive from the village. Ring again if you get lost.
2.
Excuse me. Sorry. How do I get out of here? I'm completely lost.
Yeah, this place is a bit of a maze. So, to get to reception, go along this corridor to the end and turn right. Go past the photocopiers, then through the design department. There are some stairs on your left, or the lift is just through the double doors, okay?
Oh, yes, I think so. So, it's to the end of the corridor and left.
No, right.
Yes, yes. That's what I meant.
Good, good. Well, you know, you can always ask again if you lose your way.
Yes, I will. Thank you.
Okay.
3.
Phil, I think we're going the wrong way. We walked past that statue about 10 minutes ago.
Don't panic, Andrea. I was born here. I know this place like the back of my hand.
Ugh, heard that one before.
Sorry?
No, nothing. But I just want to find the pub before they stop serving lunch.
It's fine. We just go across the square and it's one of the roads on the right.
Oh, my feet are killing me.
It's only about a 5-minute walk. Just a bit further on and then on the right. Yeah, this is it. Oh.
Phil, this is a hairdresser's.
Yes, thank you, Andrea. I can see that. I'm sure it's around here somewhere. Yeah, let's go back to the square.
Or we could just check on my phone. It does have GPS, you know. Phil? Phil!